It's 11:18 a.m. You're halfway through answering emails you don't care about. The subject lines blur together. Updates, reminders, someone asking for a document you already sent. You're sitting in seat 17A on a regional flight that left the runway 40 minutes ago, laptop balanced against the tray table. The Wi-Fi is weak, but working just well enough to keep you trapped in the routine of your normal life. You're flying to a city you've visited 3 times already this year. Same airport, same rental car counter, same meeting tomorrow morning where people will pretend the numbers matter more than the decisions behind them. You close the laptop when the turbulence starts. At first, it's ordinary. The plane bumps slightly, the way planes do. The seatbelt sign turns on. A chime echoes through the cabin. A flight attendant stops pushing the drink cart and grips the back of a seat. You've flown enough to know the script. Then the plane drops. Not a bump, not a dip, a fall. The kind that empties your stomach and pulls a gasp out of every throat in the cabin at the same time. Plastic cups jump from tray tables. Someone swears loudly. The plane stabilizes for a second, then the engines change pitch. You don't know aviation, but you know machines. The sound isn't normal. One engine whines higher than the other, uneven, strained. The cabin tilts slightly left. People notice. The man across the aisle presses his call button. A woman behind you asks if everything is okay. No one answers. Another drop. This one lasts longer. You grip the armrests. The seatbelt digs into your hips. The captain's voice comes over the speakers. Calm. Too calm. We're experiencing a mechanical issue. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. Mechanical issue. That's the phrase companies use when something has already gone wrong. The plane banks. Hard. You look out the window. Below you isn't a city. It's forest. Miles of it. Dark green stretching in every direction. The engines roar again, louder now, like they're fighting something invisible. You feel the plane losing altitude, fast. The cabin fills with the sounds people make when they realize a situation has shifted from uncomfortable to dangerous. Not screaming yet, but close. Someone starts praying. You look down the aisle. The flight attendants are strapped into their jump seats, faces tight but controlled. One of them shouts the words you've only ever heard in safety demonstrations. Brace position! That's when you understand. This isn't turbulence. This is a crash. You fold forward, forehead against the seat in front of you, hands clasped behind your head the way the safety card showed. The engines scream. Then, silence. Not full silence. The wind howls against the fuselage. Metal rattles. The plane glides wrong, too fast and too low. Branches appear outside the window, too close. The first impact is violent enough to slam your shoulder into the seat frame. The second tears something open. The third flips the world sideways. The sound is impossible to describe. Metal ripping, glass exploding, luggage tearing loose from overhead bins, people shouting, gravity losing its rules. The plane skids, stops. For a moment, nothing moves. You lift your head slowly. The cabin is tilted at a sharp angle. Several rows ahead are crushed inward. Overhead compartments hang open like broken jaws. Smoke drifts through the aisle. Someone is crying. Someone else isn't moving. Your brain tries to process what just happened and fails. You're alive. That realization arrives slowly, like a delayed message finally reaching its destination. You unbuckle the seatbelt with shaking hands. The air smells wrong. Fuel, hot metal, burned plastic. Fire is the next problem. You don't see flames yet, but the smell tells you they're possible. You stand. The plane groans under shifting weight. People around you are moving now. A few injured, some stunned. One of the flight attendants is already shouting instructions. Evacuate! Leave everything! The emergency exit near your row is jammed. You try it anyway. The handle moves halfway before locking in place. Another passenger joins you.
Together you force it. Nothing. The attendant points toward the rear exit. You help two people climb over twisted seats. Someone's leg is bleeding badly. Someone else keeps asking where their child is. You find the rear door. It opens. Cold air floods in. Outside is wilderness. Not a road, not a building, not even a clearing. Trees everywhere. The emergency slide partially deploys but catches on branches. You climb down anyway. The ground feels unreal beneath your feet. Behind you, people spill from the broken plane one by one. 20 minutes later, the silence of the forest returns. The plane sits broken among the trees like a wounded animal. There are survivors. Not many. You count 12 people, including yourself. The flight attendant who organized the evacuation is among them. Her arm is broken, but she's conscious. 2 passengers are badly injured. 1 isn't breathing. No phones have signal. No one knows exactly where you are. That's when the responsibility begins shifting towards you. Not because you're the strongest, not because you're the smartest, because you're the first one thinking about what happens next. The plane could explode. Night will come. Injuries will worsen. You say the first thing that moves everyone forward. We need to get away from the wreckage. It becomes the first decision of many. You guide the group 50 meters into the trees, far enough to avoid fire, close enough to return if supplies are needed. The forest is thick and uneven. Moving injured people through it is slow. You improvise stretchers using torn seat fabric and branches. Someone asks when rescue will arrive. You don't answer, because you don't know if anyone even knows the plane's final location. The flight attendant told you the last transmission mentioned losing radar contact. That means search teams will have a wide area to cover. Hours pass. You organize the group into tasks. 2 people collect anything useful from the wreckage: water bottles, snack packs, emergency kits. 2 stay with the injured. You focus on priorities: water, shelter, fire, signal. You've never been a survival expert, but you know enough to understand the hierarchy. Night arrives faster than expected under the dense canopy. The temperature drops sharply. Fear spreads quietly through the group. People look at you when decisions need to be made. You didn't ask for leadership, but no one else is taking it. You build the first fire using insulation material and a lighter recovered from someone's pocket. The flame becomes the center of your temporary world. People sit around it like gravity is changed. Someone finally asks the question everyone avoided. What if they don't find us? You don't lie. They will, but it might take time. The first night is about survival in the simplest sense, keeping people warm, keeping the injured stable, keeping panic from spreading. You don't sleep. Morning reveals the scale of the wilderness surrounding you. Forest hills in every direction, no roads, no clearings, just endless trees. You organize another search of the wreckage. The second pass reveals more supplies: 3 emergency food kits, 8 bottles of water, a flare gun, a first aid pack, and the plane's emergency locator transmitter. Broken. The antenna snapped during impact. That discovery changes the situation. Rescue planes might be searching, but without a signal, the crash site is just another patch of forest. You study the damaged transmitter. You can't repair it, but the flare gun gives you another option: visibility, smoke, signals. You start building larger fires in a clearing nearby, 3 of them arranged in a triangle. A pattern search aircraft are trained to recognize. Days pass. The group dynamics change. Hunger grows. Injuries become infections if you're not careful. Arguments start over small things: who gets more water, who works harder, who rests too long. Leadership becomes less about survival skills and more about decisions that feel unfair. You ration food, 1 packet per person per day. It's not enough, but it stretches supplies. Some people hate you for it. You accept that. A week after the crash, you hear the first aircraft. The sound appears suddenly in the distance. Everyone runs to the clearing. You fire the flare. Red light streaks into the sky. Smoke from the signal fires climbs through the trees. The aircraft passes overhead. Does it see you? No one knows. The sound fades. Hope rises and collapses in the same moment. The next morning you hear another aircraft, this time closer. You fire the final flare. The aircraft circles. Once, twice, it dips its wings. That single gesture confirms everything. You've been found. Rescue helicopters arrive hours later. When they land in the clearing, the forest that trapped you for 8 days suddenly becomes smaller. As medics treat injuries and prepare evacuations, someone asks who organized the camp. Several people point at you. You feel strange hearing them describe decisions that felt obvious at the time.
The helicopter lifts you above the trees. The wreckage of the plane is visible for the first time from above. It looks smaller than the experience of surviving it. Weeks later, life returns to routines, emails, flights, meetings, but something fundamental has changed. You notice it every time a plane takes off, every time you hear an engine change pitch. You understand now how thin the line is between ordinary life and the moment everything becomes survival. And you know something else, too. If it ever happens again, if the world suddenly breaks and leaves you responsible for keeping people alive, you won't hesitate. Because once you've survived the wilderness, part of you never really leaves it.